Hi, my name's Alex Martin. I'm here with Coach Mike Foster, the women's and track and field head coach here at Greenfield-Central. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing quite all right. So first off, how long have you been the head coach here for the women's track and field?
This is my fourth season here at Greenfield-Central High School.
All right. Did you ever do track and field in high school or college?
I ran all the way through junior high and high school in Peru, Indiana. And then, starting in 2008, I was a junior high track and cross country coach until I moved to the junior high here at Greenfield. And then, I was down there for a number of years before moving up here to the high school.
That's good. Do you think doing track and field in high school kind of helped you become a coach?
I think so. I had some good coaches that inspired me to one, keep doing it, keep running on into my adulthood, and then two, wanting to kind of teach my runners some of the lessons that they taught me.
What is that, or would you say that they are one of the reasons why you wanted to keep going and like make you want to keep doing track?
Oh, definitely, definitely. If you have a bad coach, that can kind of sour you on the whole experience, I think. So uh, I was fortunate to have a series of good coaches along the way.
How did your coach in high school or college help you become a better coach?
He was pretty positive, right? And he would help me kind of understand the ins and outs of each event. And he would even kind of put me in some events that I didn't expect to be good at. I was a distance runner, and we always had like a distance 4x4 team. And I ended up being one of the faster kids on that team. And then one day decided he wanted to put me in a runoff varsity 4x4 team, and I beat everybody that I was running off against, and ended up actually going to state in 1996 in the 4x4, just because he kind of had that faith in me and wanted to try me out in something a little bit different.
How do you balance having to coach all sorts of different uh, events and track?
Well, luckily I have a lot of good assistant coaches, and we kind of assign them based on their experience and what they're good at. We've got a throws coach that coaches our throwing athletes. We've got a good sprint coach that coaches sprints. I myself have a distance background, so I focus mostly on the distance girls.
Okay. What is something you tell your athletes to help them be the best they can be?
Just to stay focused, make sure they eat correctly, drink lots of water. High school students tend not to eat the best sometimes. They tend not to remember to drink water throughout the day.
I know
So
that.
nutrition is huge.
Yeah.
When you're a young athlete, you have to make sure you pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, I know that well. During the off season, what are things that you have your athletes prepare for the next?
Really, just conditioning. We try to get the mileage in over the breaks so that we don't lose the fitness that we gained, during either cross country season or track season.
What are ways you and the other coaches help build character in your athletes?
I've been fortunate to have a really good group of girls this year, and they work with each other to build character. I always see the seniors being kind to the younger athletes, and the younger athletes looking up to the seniors. We really kind of lean on our seniors a little bit to be that example. They've been in our program the longest, so they've learned the lessons. They've seen how things are done, so they kind of impart that to the younger athletes.
Okay. What are some things you expect from your athletes who are finished with their event at meets?
We want to make sure they're cooling down, make sure they get their spikes off so that they're resting their feet. But once they're done kind of cooling down from their event, we want them to be encouraging the other athletes kind of around the track.
Hmm. Along with that, could you walk us through what a track meet sort of looks like?
You start off with, field events kind of start first, and then we get into the running events. Start off with a 4x8, which is a distance relay. Then we start with the sprints, 100, mile. It just kind of progresses throughout, throughout the meet, different events and different distances, capping off usually by or relay. Or sometimes, the throwers like to throw in what they call the big man relay
Yep.
at the end, which is kind of become pretty popular this season. It's kind of really caught on.
It's fun.
Yeah.
As a track coach, you are coaching others to run. So I was wondering if you do still run.
I do run. I run all the time. It's a little harder for me during track season because,
Hmm.
again, I'm so busy, but I've got a half marathon coming up June 7th, the first one ever here in Greenfield, Indiana,
Oh, wow.
called the Parks to Parks half marathon. And then in October, I'm scheduled to run the Chicago Marathon.
So I know running might be one of your things you do in your free time. Uh, but what are some other things that you might not?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I'm big DIY, so I do a lot of home projects. I like to camp. We've got a campsite and a boat over at Brookville Lakes that we like to visit during the summer. My son and I just started a DJ business, kind of a side gig. So we had our first DJ'd our first wedding this past weekend, which was a pretty big success, if I might say so myself. So, yeah, just I don't sit still well, so
Yeah,
I always have to be doing something.
that's good. That's good. Moving to more of your teacher side, how do you handle student athletes who are kind of struggling in class?
If they're my students, I definitely, provide, that extra help if they're willing to come in early. I really can't stay after school very much since I have track practice, but I'm always here, about 7:45. So if they want to come in early,
Yeah.
encourage them to go to study tables if they need to, or the learning lab
Hmm.
on certain days, and we can kind of be flexible with the workouts on those days if we know that that's an area that they need improvement in. And then if it's not one of my students, but it's my athlete, I'll
Yeah.
go to the teachers where they're struggling, and I'll try to figure out what we can do together to kind of help that person succeed in the classroom, just like they are on the track.
Okay. When growing up, did what made you know that you wanted to become a teacher as well?
Again, I just had some good teachers that I saw, you know, being good role models, and I kind of saw myself in that role uh, at a pretty early age. I knew I wanted to coach, and I knew that most of my coaches were teachers, and I just kind of uh, I was good at English, and I kind of picked up on that as far as the teaching profession is concerned.
Okay. What is something you tell your athletes to help recover from a hard practice or a long week of training?
Just rest, just I know we're really busy on the weekends. We've got soccer games and we've got AAU basketball practice and we've got all, this, that, and the other. Just find time to rest because your body needs it. I know that you guys are teenagers and you think you're invincible, but you learn as you get older that you are not invincible. And I'd like them to learn those lessons earlier rather than later.
All right. And what would you tell a student who's never done track before and who is hesitant to try it out?
Just try it. Just come out. There are so many different things that you can do in track and field. We will find something that, one, you enjoy, and two, that you can find success in, whether it's throwing or jumping or running distance or sprinting or whatever it is.
Okay. And if for a coach who hasn't coached before, what would you tell them? Sort of give them advice for becoming a head
Find a
coach?
good mentor. Find somebody that's been doing it for a long time and shadow that person. Be an assistant coach for a while and make sure you like coaching, make sure that you can relate with the athletes and then kind of go from there. That's kind of what you have to do. I started off as a volunteer assistant coach when I was student teaching and I found that I was I was good at it, so I just kept going. Junior high and then kind of progressed to high school.
All right. That's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me,
Mhm.
and thank you.